Well, most viewers know I occasionally like to poke the bear every so often. Um, and this one, in this case, of course, is the SMP. And I'm sorry, this is one thing they have no excuse to get out of this time. Everything is laid firmly at their feet. The SNP have been in power at Holyrood for over almost, well, at least just a little bit over 2 decades now. They have been in power. However, that now, of course, seems to be slipping from their grasp. But when it comes to this subject of education, there is no hiding from this. Because typically, what tends to happen if anything goes wrong in Scotland, the SNP will very quickly say, "Oh, well, you see, the big problem here is that it's a matter of funding. Our funding comes from Westminster, or that this policy is ultimately dictated, or they don't have full control over this policy area because of, Westminster." That is normally the usual song and dance. However, when it comes to education policy, and even more importantly, education funding, which again directly drawn from Scotland, with how sort of our schools are sort of funded here in this, and of course, more importantly, Holyrood and indeed the Scottish Parliament having full control over education policy in particular. Westminster doesn't have a say in Scottish education policy. The new numbers today have come out and really shown that the S&P for years who have been saying, "Oh, if only we had full control, if only we were, trusted more with our money, um, maybe the S&P might not be, shall we say, the best party, or at least, as they like to say, the most natural choice of party for once ruling a future independent Scotland." So before we get more, of course, into this and this report that came out, which is again very damning for them indeed, I say hit that like, share, and of course the subscribe button. Like I say, down below, there's the Patreon page, there's the Buy Me Coffee link, where again you can buy me coffee. And thank you for the people who do buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button, of course, as well. And of course, there's the Pony Club down below as well. And of course, remember, we have done the big review of the year. So if you want to go see that, join the Patreon, join the Pony Club. And of course, you can go to the Patreon and buy that video individually now, which is something new Patreon have been doing. But of course, as always, thank you very much to everyone who does help support the channel that way. And of course, let's crack on into this. So, worrying, 40% of Scottish pupils passed maths. Only 40% passed maths. Well, that's worrying. So, the Commission on School Reform Analysis analysed exam pass rates for now secondary school pupils taking the national 5 subjects of data going all the way back to 2015. So this is a long period of which, again, who has been in charge during that period? Who has even been in charge prior to that period? Well, it said that just 40% of all fourth-year pupils, typically aged 14 to 16, had passed National 5 mathematics in just 2024. Well, 75% passed English. Just over 25% passed the most popular science subject, biology. So something else going on there. Science. It's not just maths, it's science as well. We'll get into some of these results in a bit of a moment just down below. But yeah, really, really worrying state, honestly, for education. Like I said, the S&P, they've got full control over, education policy. A couple of years ago, we even talked about this, about the fact that Nicola Sturgeon had pulled Scotland out of, worldwide and European educational results, comparing how different countries were doing against each other, because constantly Scotland was coming at the bottom. And it was starting to look very, very embarrassing. In fact, Nicola Sturgeon, he most famously went and said, "Look, we're all about education. We want Scotland to be a really good educated country. And if anyone has a problem with our education policy, well, they better get out of the way, because we are going to give the the best education policy Scotland has ever seen. But with these results, have they? Have they really done that? I don't think so. So it also pointed out that over 68% of all pupils in school years who sat the Nat 5 maths in 2024 had passed, an increase of at least 5.7 percentage points from, of course, the previous year. The Commission on School Reform for Independent Groups of Education Experts is set up by the think tank Reform Scotland. It last reported on the SQA exam data for total of pupils in the S4, as well as the number of pupils who took each subject. The report said that the real pass rate for all S4 pupils was 41% in mathematics, 25% in biology, 22% in chemistry, 17% in physics, and 9%, less than 10%, in computing science. It said that the pass rates for all those fourth years who took those subjects were, again, we've been through those, and former Kellogg Academy head teacher, a member of this commission, Caroline Ford, said that the data had been laid bare, that there was a clear mountain now to climb. She said that the result of the International PISA survey back in 2023 had already shown that the Scotland's outcomes for math and science were very poor. Speaking on the BBC radio programme Good Morning Scotland, Miss Ford said that the issues like staffing could obviously be a contributing factor to the reason for this decline in student performance, but Scotland does not collect enough data to actually examine the true cause. Why does that not be the case? Why does not Scotland collect enough data to examine the true cause? That was because of Scottish S&P policy. They're choosing not to collect the data because it was becoming kind of embarrassing for them. Anyway, but she went on said on the Good Morning Scotland. She said one of the things that, of course, the Scottish government said that they felt that had caused this drop in the number of at least doing maths in particular was because that we support the curriculum of pupils' choice. Pupils are choosing subject on the basis of where they are most likely to succeed, even when more concerning, because we have to now ask ourselves, why do fewer pupils now expect to succeed in maths and STEM subjects? And that isn't good. Where you are giving, again, pupil choice. Oh, go do these, and go take the subjects you're more better in at doing. But then, of course, you don't take maths and STEM subjects. Why are so few pupils choosing to take those subjects? Yeah, it's very worrying. It is incredibly worrying that this thing's coming out. And here's the thing: this is strictly down to Scottish education policy. And guess where that Scottish education policy comes? Doesn't come from Westminster. Comes from Holyrood, who's been in power in Holyrood that long. Anyway, she continued. She said, for society as a whole, this is, of course, not good news. Society develops on the back of educated population, and not having a level of education in sciences and mathematics that other countries will be to Scotland's disadvantage. So, yeah, very, very, of course, worrying on that front. Very worrying. But this isn't the first time this has cropped up. This has been an ongoing issue for quite a while. An ongoing issue. And yet, here we are, once again, talking about this. And education, that's dealt in Holyrood, 100%. Education policy, it comes from Holyrood, who's been in power that long in Holyrood. Turns out, maybe pupil choice, while it might be a fun idea, might not have been the best thing if you want, people to be good at, maths and science, which again, a society needs. Now, again, I grew up being forced to do maths and science. I hated maths. I hated maths completely, but I had to do it until I was 16. Same for sciences, but I loved doing science. I loved sciences, but hated maths. But again, I suppose everyone has subjects they hate. But I think in that, when you're going up to that sort of level, that that 16, maybe sort of giving pupils, choice in this subject, not the best idea. But again, let me know what you think down below. But this is incredibly worrying. That is incredibly worrying as a whole. That should not be the case. 40% of students passing maths. No, that should be very worrying indeed. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to click the like and share button on your way out. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.